doesn't matter if you had to cross your fingers and hope and pray and get into the playoffs.
Curling now enters the Sports Weekend spotlight.
How was your dinner last night with Jan and Marcy?
I feel sorry for the people that were sitting beside us because I think you both have heard how loud we can be when the laughter starts. And it started right from the word go. We had been trying to get together for a little while and kept postponing our kind of our monthly visits because of COVID and family and that sort of thing. And so we made this date, but we forgot. We didn't know it was the anniversary, and until until the afternoon. And so when we walked in, Marcy goes, "Do you know?" And I go, "Oh yeah, I just found out." And then we just started screaming with laughter and reminiscing. And I had to apologize to the waiter and said, "I am so sorry. This is our anniversary." And this young guy, he goes, "Of what?" And we say, "Oh, well, 24 years ago, we won a gold medal." And he looked at us and I went, "How old are you?" And he was 23. So we killed ourselves laughing about that too. Had a lot of fun.
Awesome. Awesome. Joan, that was, it's still so vivid to me. Did you talk about the game? Did you talk about all of that? What stories stick out to you even 24 years later?
We did. We did. We started reminiscing, talking about how it's still so much fun to tell the Olympic stories from our point of view, remembering that we were the first team to go. So there wasn't a lot of preparation, not a lot of people like today with Curling Canada that would tell the athletes what to expect. No one knew what to expect. So we were we were laughing about being gender tested when we arrived at the Olympics, and that we were all mothers, and we were like, "What? Like we have to prove that we're women?" That was hilarious. And playing in a really tiny little hockey arena that
Mm.
seemed to be fitting in rural Saskatchewan. It looked like it belonged in Saltcoats, Saskatchewan, and how you had this idea in your head that you would be in the most grand arena of all time. And that's just not the case. And ice wasn't very good, and how much pressure we felt wearing the maple leaf, and that has never gone away. And
Mm.
certainly we didn't have the depth of the field that we have here, but we feel that the weight of that maple leaf on our back was even heavier 24 years ago.
Wow.
Hi, roommate from Korea, by the way. Nice to see you. Miss our long night talks. Are the memories still sort of so fresh for you? Is that frozen in time in your head, or do they slip away a little bit all the time, or is it just?
You get reminded of them every once in a while. You get reminded. That's what Marcy was talking about, that she was doing something, talking about something with her family. And then Carrie said, "Marcy, you haven't told the kids that story about when you guys were at the Olympics." So you forget that the kids were not old enough to remember, and that we haven't told all those stories outside of our little circle. And so there's little triggers that get you going. And one of the topics of conversation last night was how we need to spend more time with Sarah and Jenna, with Sandra's daughters, to share those stories because we're the only ones that know it. And when we
Right.
get together and we start to remind each other of those kind of experiences, and I know a few of the things are written down in a journal. I did keep a journal, which is so unlike me, but I know it's in a box somewhere that I'm going to have to take it out and revisit those sorts of things. But yeah, it does seem fresh. It doesn't seem like 24 years ago. It was that big of a deal.
It was such a big deal. Joan, so many of these teams competing at the Olympics very well. Maybe some thoughts on this dramatic scenario that's playing out going into the final draw.
It is very dramatic, isn't it? And it's just it was hard to watch. We're all big Canadian curling fans, and to watch the team struggle with trying to
Mm.
read that ice. I think the ice got both Brad Gouchou and Jennifer Jones. The inability to adapt to whatever it was they were given on that outside sheet seemed to
Mm.
be a real problem. So, is it possible? It is. I totally believe, like, we have seen this team play really, really well. Like they're not that far off. It's not like it's a huge disaster or anything like that. I think we're all just hoping and crossing our fingers. I believe strongly that Jennifer Jones can beat Denmark, and then cross her fingers that she gets the right combination of wins out of the rest of the field to advance. And then your back is against the wall again. Let's talk about that playoff, that sudden death semifinal. It doesn't matter if you had to cross your fingers and hope and pray and get into the playoffs. That semifinal can do you in one game. Doesn't matter if you lost any going into that. So lots of pressure, whether they make it that next step or not.
Wow.
Mm-hmm. Joni, just quick, we saw you coaching, of course, at the Olympic trials with Casey Scheidegger. What do you bring from your 98 team and, those kind of thoughts about high pressure situation and must wins, et cetera, that you bring to the young Alberta team?
There is a lot, Colleen. There really is a trick to learning how to play under pressure. And I think the number one thing is you have to fail. And you have to learn, you have to figure out what went wrong the first time that you were in that situation so that it doesn't happen again. That's the number one thing. Get yourself into finals so that you feel really nervous. See how you perform, analyze it, and make sure it doesn't happen again if it's a negative thing. If it's a positive thing, also analyze it and do whatever you did to make that work. So there is definitely that. Can I teach people from my own experience that I certainly am trying. Right now in the environment with COVID, it's more about trying to get my team into those pressure situations.
Right.
When the field got so small that we're able to curl over the last year. So I'm hoping they have more chances.
Yeah.
I will never forget the story you told about the semifinal at the Olympics against Great Britain and Sandra needing to hit the 8-foot and you giving her information before that throw, Joan. And that, I think all of Canada was putting on the brakes when that rock started to slide.
It was, and it was a decision that Marcy and I made. We were timing, of course, the opposition's rocks in the semifinal. There was so much frost. It was raining and snowing all day that day. There was so much frost that the ice actually got keener in the 11th end because it was just so flat. And we were timing, and all their guards were slipping into the rings, and that's why our 11th end was actually fairly simple. And so we were timing, and so Sandra just had to draw, and she said, "Is it normal?" And Marcy said, "I think it's a little faster." And I remember looking at her and going, "Don't mess with her right now. Just throw normal." And she did, and it was too much. So I am watching this rock come down the ice thinking, this was me. I told her, just throw normal. And it's too much. And of course, they got to the tee line, and it's still moving. And the opposition, Great Britain, started sweeping it behind the tee line, and it stopped with about an inch to spare, 1 inch in the back of the 8-foot. I actually thought we lost until Jan put up her hand, and I have never been so relieved in my life to have won that game on an inch. And I didn't play well. I gave the wrong information. I was kind of a mess. But you know what? We played a great final, a great gold medal game. You got to have a little bit of luck, right? I tell my team that all the time. You have to have a little bit of luck. Yeah. And that was ours.
Awesome, Joe.
Yeah, when luck's not on your side, you're just wishing Mr. Luck would show up in a hurry, because you have to be good to be lucky, but boy, you need those breaks, don't you? Absolutely.
You do. You really do. You need to hit teams at the right time and cross your fingers a little bit. And, you need a few things to go the right way.
Oh, yeah. No kidding. Well said.
Let's hope that the Canadians are on the right side of the inch like you were in that semifinal game, Joan.